Hello, it's me, I am back. So about a week ago from filming this, I ran a workshop in Frome with Jazz of the Rowan Tree Apothecary called For the Love of Plants. It was really great. It was about 3 heart-centered plants. We did rose, hawthorn and linden. And it was kind of like an intro to herbal medicine, talking about different ways that you can use these. Everyone that did it got a free zine. In this zine, I've put a bunch of recipes for each of these plants. We're going to be making them all today. That is 5 separate recipes. Just as a quick note, if you are on the dandelion tier of my Patreon, there's an e-copy of this available there that has all of the information on all of the plants, plus all of the recipes and the measurements and everything. But we're going to be making them today. So the first thing we're making from here is in the rose section of this zine, and we are making a rose water toner. This is really easy to make. So first we need to make a slightly more concentrated rose water, and we're going to do this just by simmering some rose petals on a very low heat on the hob for about 20 to 30 minutes, making sure that it's covered. And then you should have this rich, beautifully rose smelling concoction that isn't burnt. We never let it get to a boil. Then you can store this concoction in the fridge, and when you want to use it as a toner, you're just going to add this to a spray bottle if you've got one, or if you don't, in a small bowl, and add distilled water. Mix it all together, use a cotton pad and just all over your face. And it's lovely and calming and relaxing, and it's anti-inflammatory, especially around this under eye bit because it's so gentle. I love this toner. Now we're making one of my favourite snacks. This is the rose and chocolate covered dates. These are delicious. They are delectable, and they are now one of my husband's favourite snacks. First we're going to get medjool dates, and we are going to remove the pip. Next thing I'm going to do is melt some dark chocolate. Do it as a double boiler on the hob, and we're going to make it nice and thick. For the rose you have 2 options. In this I put using rose powder on top, like a dusting on top of the melted chocolate. I then realised I was out of rose powder, and I'm not going to grind up a bunch of rose right now. I'm not feeling it. But I do have rose tincture. So I'm going to put rose tincture directly into the melted chocolate, stir that, and then I'm going to cover the dates. So I completely forgot that when you add alcohol to melted chocolate, which is what a tincture is, it's like rose and alcohol, it changes the consistency and it goes like moussey. So if you're doing it the original way in the recipe, so you're melting chocolate on top and dusting it with rose powder, you get these like melted chocolate gorgeousness. Now I'm having like moussey dates, but I did try the rose chocolate, like the rose tincture chocolate, and it's good. So I'm not mad, even though I've got these weird moussey looking dates. And then, just because I'm a little bit fancy, I topped it with freeze-dried raspberry pieces. These are so good. You have to fight yourself not to eat them all in one go. I do like to freeze a few, otherwise I just will. But dark chocolate and rose covered dates, oh, these are so good. I promise. I promise. Now we move on to our next plant. The next plant we covered in this talk was hawthorn. Hawthorn is a wonderful heart-centered plant. It is the heart herb. If I need to do anything for the heart, like for me, strengthening after panic attacks, hawthorn. Feeling a bit anxious, hawthorn. Like, we go with hawthorn. I am making a hawthorn and rosehip syrup. You can use hawthorn berries on their own. I think the rosehip just gives it a nice softness. So we're making a hawthorn and rosehip syrup. I had dried hawthorn berries and dried rosehips. So I first just soaked them in water overnight. Then I'm taking all of the hawthorn berries and the water, everything that's left in there, and I'm putting it straight onto the hob. If you only just put enough water in there that it only rehydrated the berries and didn't go further, add a bit more water here just so that it's kind of partially covered. I am now going to bring this to the boil and cook it down. I'm also going to kind of mash the berries a little bit so that they really start kind of opening and letting out all those juices. When it looks sufficiently macerated, I'm going to drain it using a cafetiere. You can use cheesecloth. You can use firstly a sieve and then a cheesecloth as well if you want to catch everything. But I have currently got a cafetiere handy, so I am going to use that. Then what you want to do is you want to weigh that liquid that is left over. How much is there in weight, and you're going to equal that in sugar. I'm then going to add the juice of half a lemon. I just think lemon goes great with everything, forever, all the time. So I'm putting lemon in this. You do not have to, completely optional, but I like the little bit of the acidic twist in there. I'm slowly adding the sugar, and when it's all melted together and I'm starting to get slightly thicker consistency, take it off the heat and let it cool. It won't go super thick like honey, but you will feel that it's more viscous than water. This can then be used anywhere that you would normally use any kind of syrup. You can put it in coffees and have like a berry hint to your coffee, which is really nice. It's a really lovely syrup that's high in like vitamin C and loads of other minerals. Plus you get all the heart benefits of the Hawthorn. It's great on pancakes, it's great on yogurt, it's great on porridge. It's a really easy way to get those extra kind of vitamins and minerals in without having to change your routine and lifestyle all that much. The final plant is linden. Linden is one of my absolute favourite plants of all time, forever. Mostly I take it for nervous tension. So like when you grit your teeth for a long time when you're stressed and then you end up with like a headache, or I'm someone that when I'm stressed I tighten up and it just helps relax those muscles. It's like, for me, linden is like the biggest sigh. It's like a kind of moment, and I love it for that. So we are making 2 linden recipes today. First thing we're making is what I like to call my quiet mind tea. Linden is really great for stopping those swirling thoughts. It is like that sigh. It's that swirling, it keeps going, and you just kind of breathe out and go, I'm done. And I love that for it. So I combine it with a kind of like a few sedative, sleepy-ish herbs to create this thing that's great to have before bed if your mind is like going round and round and round and round, because mine often is. So I use a base of nettle, because nettle I mostly use for its anti-inflammatory kind of actions. And when I'm tight for so long, I find that I also get inflammation around like my joints and things, and it can just ache and I can be tired. So nettle is the base. Then I use chamomile as the next biggest part of it. Chamomile's just sweet and relaxing, and I love it. And then equal parts of linden and passion flower. Passion flower can make you really sleepy, and linden helps those kind of quieting of the thoughts. And I find it is such a relaxing thing to have in the evening. If I've had a particularly like rough day at work, or I'm getting overwhelmed with everything that I have to do, it's why it's quiet mind. Got to quiet that mind, baby. Quiet mind tea. So that's why I've got that one. And then we're going to make a linden body oil. Again, I'm using it for the nervous tension aspect of things. So when you're doing a body or face oil, pick the oil based on where it's going on your body. If it's tougher and like rougher skin, so kind of the bigger parts of your body, you're looking at like an olive oil, maybe a coconut oil, something that's like thicker and heavier. Whereas for delicate skin or the skin around the face, I like to go with a really light oil. So I am using what oil am I using? I have it here. I'm using apricot kernel oil. I prefer either apricot or sweet almond, either of the two, but apricot has a slight scent, barely any, it's slight. So I'm using an apricot kernel oil, and I'm using linden leaves and flowers. So to infuse an oil, you have 2 options. You can leave it in a warm-ish, dark place where there's not many temperature fluctuations, and it's just going to sit for about 6 weeks and get a really nice infusion that way. I'm doing a heat infusion. So what I like to do for a heat infusion, add my linden to a jar, top it off with oil. You want to make sure you're using at least double the oil, if not more, but you've got to always leave a space at the top of that jar so that as it heats up, it doesn't escape. I've done that before. I've learned from my mistake. Shake it up and make sure that lid is on really tight. The next thing I do is I gradually warm the jar. So this is to prevent heat shock, and if you've never experienced heat shock, good for you, but it's when a glass will spontaneously explode because it's gone from cold to hot way too quickly. So under the tap, I start with cool water, then I get it warmer and warmer till it's as hot as I can physically handle it, and I just keep turning the jar, and the jar should be really hot to the touch. I then put it in a slow cooker, a little bit of water in there that's kind of cool, and then boil the kettle and put boiling water up to about a quarter of the jar, sometimes a third, depending on the size of your slow cooker. And I don't even turn it on. I just put the lid on and leave it to sleep. In the morning, I leave that overnight. I like to leave it for a good 8 hours. And that will really start infusing, and you'll see by the morning that the colour of the oil has changed. If you're using a clear oil like me, if you're using a yellowy oil, it might just look more yellow. Then in the morning, I put the slow cooker on, but I put it on low and only for like 3 to 4 hours, if that, just as a last hit of heat. Linden's a very subtle scent, but you'll notice that the scent of the oil has changed. It goes slightly sweet, which I really like. When that oil is infused, I'm going to drain it off with a cheesecloth and pop it in a small bottle. And there it is, ready to use. Body oil as and when I need it. I'm using it on particularly my forehead for this one because I can get tension headaches, the nervous tension when I'm stressed and I'm straining, and I can feel that I've got all those like creases in my forehead because I'm just like this all the time. It's just to be able to rub it here and to relax those muscles and around the shoulders and neck for me, because that's where I feel most of my tension. If you're a tension in the back person, maybe something like a olive oil or a sunflower oil might actually be quite nice for you. So that is all of the recipes I gave in the For the Love of Plants zine, which is available on my Patreon to my dandelion tier. Should you want it, you are welcome to it. And if you make anything that kind of resembles any of these recipes, or there are different things that you like to do with these herbs in particular, rose, hawthorn and linden, do let me know. I'm always interested to see different people's kind of takes and recipes on different herbs. So yeah, let me know, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys. Hello plant. You okay? I think this is going to be really harsh lighting, but we fix in post.